You've eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit, but your feast is nearly over.
This is not my home. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon. Why aren't you laughing?
From this moment on, none of you are safe.
Welcome to the Batman Book Club, a podcast exploring the Dark Knight Library. I'm your host, Ryan Lauer. The Batman Book Club is a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network, hosted by Batman on Film. Just go to batmanonfilm.com and click on podcasts, and you'll find the Batman Podcast Network. Also, the Batman Book Club's on Patreon. So if you like what's going on with the show and you want to help support the show, go to patreon.com/thebatmanbc. Now, thank you for listening to the big episode 200, doing something a little different today, and it's motivated and inspired by my guest, whose name is in the title of this. You can see him. He's the writer and artist of Punk Rock Jesus, Zorro, Man of the Dead, and of course, as everybody here knows, the White Knight series. It's Sean Murphy. Hello, Sean, and thanks for coming on the Batman Book Club.
Glad to be a guest, man. A big 200, huh? Did you ever think you'd get this far?
No, I was just a little kid, in my studio apartment in Chicago when this launched, and here we are. And then I've got you on here.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of stuff with Bill still?
Yes. We podcast. He comes on here when I ask. But a lot of times I'm on his stuff on Batman on Film. I think you and I have joked because you and I have podcasts for Batman on Film before. Like Bill's just this myth, and in your eyes, it's like, yeah, he has this website and this podcast, but I've never talked to him. Never met him.
He's he's your LLC. He's your tax write-off. He's your charity.
Yeah, exactly.
One day, it's like in Shawshank Redemption when they're like, you just can't create a person out of nowhere. It's like, sure you can if you know where the loopholes are.
Yeah,
that's who Bill is. He's not real.
Exactly. We've all duped him. He's this Texan guy. I want to ask before I explain what we're gonna do though, because this is your first time on here, and I ask anybody who's on here, what's your favorite Batman story?
Comic book?
However you want to take it.
I think Heart of Ice of the animated series, my favorite all-time Batman story. I mean, as you know, my base of knowledge is mostly animated series type stuff. I've read the Milestone comics, of course. I haven't played any of the Arkham games, so I'm criminally unprepared for that stuff. But for me, the short, sweet, 22 minutes, whatever it is, of an episode, a nice tight written script. I think what Paul and Bruce did. Bruce Timm, is amazing, and it's it's going to be hard to beat Heart of Ice. I do a podcast with my friend Clay called Badass, Battass, and we basically just go through talking about animated series episodes, and we kind of look at it from comic artist point of view. So at the end of each episode, we'll ask like, what would you want to draw? What would you redraw? What would be a good cover? Just trying to give our slight different take on it. Using our expertise. So Heart of Ice was always like the top of the mountain. Everything got compared to Heart of Ice. Like, is it really a 5 out of 5 stars? Like, I don't know. Like, if Heart of Ice is 5, this can't be a 5. So this has to be a 4 or 3 or whatever. So I was glad that you wanted to do an animated series episode with me today.
Yes. So, and that's where it was fun because you've challenged me. So what we're going to talk about, and it makes so much sense over what you just said. We're going to talk about the Batman the Animated Series episode, See No Evil. Now, the challenge to that, though, was because you'd said, like, can we do Battass and See No Evil? And I was like, okay, how do I make that make sense for a podcast about Batman written stories? And I'm like, I know, the script.
Right.
So I didn't respond to you right away because I'm like, let me see if I can track down the original script or something just to see. You can do some quick, like, oh, this is how it was originally proposed. And fortunately for me, somebody had online some old scripts, and they had the beat outline that was originally written by the episode writer, Martin Pasco, in July of 92. And then they also had the script that was written by Pasco in August of 92. So Sean,
Oh
I
man,
went digging in the archives for
you
this.
did
Look at
some legwork, man.
I
Look at you.
did. I want to do the work because I need to make sure that it makes sense for somebody's going to be like, wait, why are you talking Batman animated series? I was
Yeah.
looking for a comic book. And it's like, no, here we go. It makes
I
sense.
almost threw you even harder curveball. I was
Oh,
gonna
geez.
throw you the Nintendo game Batman from 1989.
Shit. That that would have been tough. I don't know
Yeah,
how. I don't know.
yep.
I'd have found a way. I never beat that
Next
game.
time.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah, next time I'll do that.
It was
So,
apparently it's really funny. My biggest memory of that game. So we had an NES. I think I just played that game. Like we had to go rent it from the video store downtown, the Video
yeah,
Connection, RIP. I never beat it. It was hard, and then it turned into like I had a Game Boy and I had a Game Boy version of it, and that's what I ended up getting and playing. I never beat that game, so I haven't even looked up to
yeah.
see how it ends.
So, I've come to gotten to the Joker. I've never beaten the Joker. The game is very different. It's a little bit like the movie, but there's a lot of other things in there, like robots and some sci-fi. But it's really well done. A lot of good Ninja Gaiden style, like wall jumping
Oh yeah,
happening. Um, so at the very end, it ends like the movie, but it makes it look like Batman just takes Joker and throws him off over the ledge of the building, and you just see this purple dot fall and hit the ground.
nice.
Like Batman flat out just murders Joker at the
Yeah.
end of that game, which I thought was pretty funny.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, if you can look on
Yeah.
YouTube right now, it's easy to find, and yeah, it's like, whoa,
This
okay, they weren't even trying to hide
this
it.
motivates me now. To
Yeah,
look at. Oh my gosh. Uh, all right. Well, so For See No Evil, I already said, was written by Martin Pasco, directed by Don Riva. It aired February 24th, 1993. It's funny in how, as everybody who looks up the animated series, how it is listed anywhere
mm,
because it can be like I
yeah,
saw season one, episode 56. You look in the
yeah,
volumes that it was first released, and it's in volume one, and they say it's season one, episode 15. But then there's that
yeah,
whole like what was
yeah,
like got worked on first. I forget how they split up aired original air date, and then whatever
yeah.
the other thing back
Production
and forth.
line.
There you go. Thank you. The production
Yeah,
order.
yeah. They did. I think they commissioned uh so over 50 episodes, which gets lumped into season one. But
Hmm.
for me, that's season two and three as well, because I had the DVDs.
Hmm.
I'm not sure what the real, if there even is a real listing of it, but I know they weren't making 50 all at once. They certainly started with a chunk and then move forward and then move forward.
Hmm.
So yeah, trying to categorize them is a little tricky sometimes. But yeah, for
Yeah.
me, this is still season one, episode whatever.
15. Yeah, because
Okay,
like you just said
15,
with
yeah,
DVDs, that's yeah, as soon as they come out on DVD, I bought them and that was just like, okay, this
right,
is season one. Season one was
right.
28 episodes to me.
Yeah, it makes more
Only
sense that way. And
yeah,
then
I think
season
so too.
four is when they redid the look and they got rid of the blue and Batman. It was more streamlined, um, cleaner JLA type of look. So that was season four, but that might
Yeah.
actually be season two. And then everything leading up to that might be considered season one, which
Yeah.
is like a lot of episodes. Yeah,
Batman,
you're
let's
not
just put
alone,
it all
man.
under the umbrella. Batman the
Yeah,
animated series. Done.
yeah.
Do you remember when you first watched the episode?
See, I would be 12 years old. I used to watch them after school weekdays, so
Okay.
it would be like on Fox. In New England, it would be Fox 25, and yeah, it was like 4:30 they were on, and I remember getting really excited and coming home and
Sure.
watching it. And I wasn't even like a big Batman fan, but there's just something about these stories, the way the animated series did it. Like this wasn't He-Man, this wasn't G.I. Joe, this wasn't like I knew even as a kid I was getting something different.
Yeah.
When I think about some of the endings, like even with this one, how like sort of sweet the ending is, showing Batman has a heart and he really does care about kids, despite how scary he looks. I thought that was really amazing, and
Yeah.
that's like a level above what I was getting from G.I. Joe, for example.
Yeah.
And being 12, hitting puberty and things are getting more complicated, and in your brain as you get older, it just kind of hit me at the right time, and it's sort of what I needed to understand that there's different levels to storytelling. This
Yeah.
show clearly is made to entertain adults and kids, but adults too. And honestly, I haven't seen a cartoon this good since I think maybe the new X-Men rivals it. It's really firing on all cylinders. Um,
X-Men 97. Yeah,
the
man.
very new, like even
Oh,
episode 5 I just watched. Like, holy shit! I was
yeah.
telling Clay last night, like, man. I haven't felt this excited about a cartoon since like the 90s. This is wild. Like, where did
Yeah.
this fucking come from? You know?
Yeah.
Not to talk about X-Men on your Batman
Sure,
podcast.
it's whatever. Everybody that's listening, I guarantee, has watched it and feels the same way.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's pretty great. So yeah, I kind of this just the series just hit me like a train.
Sure.
I tried to watch JLA, and we are getting through Beyond the White Knight. Sorry, Batman Beyond right now, and they're okay. They're not as good as this
Yeah.
first season. These
Yep.
60 episodes or whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree. And even like, so as you said, so for me watching these, I was 6 coming home from school and in the afternoons. So I don't remember, and being 6, I
Yeah,
I was really excited for Joker, Riddler,
right,
these kind of cartoony characters. So
right.
later on, I don't remember whenever I saw this for the first time, but by the time it came out
Yeah,
on DVDs, I was an older teenager and stuff. I'm watching them and I'm like, oh damn, like
right.
even the not, this is See No Evil guy we've never heard of before
Exactly.
anything.
Yeah,
And it's like it's got some good elements to it.
yeah.
Um
So as a
ma-
kid, you probably
mhm,
watched this feeling maybe a little bit bored, but when Batman starts riding on an invisible car and all that, that's pretty
yeah.
fun. But I
Yeah.
imagine as a kid, some of this would kind of go over your head. But
Yes.
as you watched it as an adult, do you remember seeing this as a kid, or do you just remember seeing this as an
No, but
adult?
I could imagine some of the just the fact of like the creepy because I'm very like it's funny because I even told you I can't draw to save my life, but like imagery, I'm very like visual driven on
Yeah,
stuff. So I would just think a lot of this episode does have some cool
yeah,
creepy, not horrific creepy, like true, like
right.
cool looking stuff that's kind of creepy throughout.
Yeah,
And so I'd imagine like this invisible guy creeping into a kid's bedroom and stuff like that.
right.
It's like, oh my gosh, it's scary. And the big
Yeah,
abandoned drive-in at the end, like
yeah.
it's all
Great set
cool
piece.
imagery to me. And
Yeah,
then yeah, as I get older and more mature, then start to see the different elements of the story. And I'm like, oh
yeah,
damn, this is a
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah. For me, it was wild that they would go all in on the expensive Batman cartoon in the 90s as Batman Returns was being developed.
Yeah.
Like that's why they changed the Penguin because they wanted it to look like Danny DeVito. So um, all that concentration on making this good, I'm surprised that they would so early go with a not important villain that we've never heard of with a ho-hum,
Yeah.
plot. I mean, I think it's interesting, but like if you pitch this, it's like the dad is trying to get his daughter back after a divorce. Like, it's a
It's
kid
a
show.
harder hill to
What do you,
climb for the writer.
yeah, what are you
Yeah.
doing, man? This sounds terrible. And there's a lot of episodes that seem pretty boring with
Hmm.
season one. Like one was called POV. It's about 3 cops who are disagreeing on what happened with the events of, Batman related, scene. Um, yeah, and then this one, I was like, man, to do this out of the gate, like episode 15, before we even got into Two-Face, let's
Yeah.
let's focus on this guy who we've never heard of.
Maybe that was the strength of a batch
Yeah,
of ordered episodes. And they're
yeah,
like, we can't just keep going back to the let's sneak in one of these. And maybe it takes
yeah,
more to pitch, or maybe who they're pitching to is like, oh yeah, we've got 20 ideas. There's gonna be some Riddler and some Joker and Two-Face. And they're like, all right,
yeah,
send them
yeah,
off. I'll sign the check. And like, sweet, we
yeah.
got what is it, Larry Ventress or whatever his name is.
Mm.
We got our
Yeah,
Larry Ventress.
it's fun. I mean, because the animations, some of the animation studios were better than others.
Mhm.
This studio, I can't remember what it was called, was one of the better ones. They had a clear manga influence with the way they drew women, especially. It couldn't have been the cheapest studio. Like
Mhm.
had been tempted to throw this studio like a Clayface episode or Mr. Freeze or whatever, like something more poignant.
Yeah.
Not to use their talents on this
Mhm.
guy who just divorced his wife, like it's just so weird, but I don't know. Like that's kind of why I think it's a hidden gem and it's worth paying attention to, even though it's not like a sexy, splashy Zora Joker episode.
So you've
Sorry,
got Beyond the White Knight and Zorro of your works on
yeah,
the brain still. I
I
think
can't.
we've
I
figured
know,
that
man.
out. You can't
Sorry.
turn it down. Um, so I guess like a question I'd ask you then is like you already said Heart of Ice is your favorite,
Yeah.
Batman story or whatever. How'd you end up settling on See No Evil
I just think it's everyone knows Heart of
for
Ice.
this?
Well, yeah, I thought it's one of my episodes that it's unappreciated. And
Mhm.
I like to draw attention to, even though it's relatively low stakes, it
Mhm.
is high stakes. It feels high. I mean, you got a
Yeah.
daughter in danger, a mom who doesn't know that the uh, ex-husband is her daughter's imaginary friend. You know, she comes in the room like,
Yeah.
"Who are you talking to?" And the kid's like, "Oh, my imaginary friend." And the mother's like, "Okay, sure." And she has no idea that there's actually a real invisible guy there. And you find out his motivation is, he's finished, he's done a stint in jail. He's out now. He can't go near them because of restraining orders. So he's found this invisible film, made a suit that's toxic, and he's using it to see his daughter. And he's stealing things to give to her. And his plan is to basically take her away. He's not motivated by money or anything. He's a very real human,
Yeah.
kind of motivation. And even though that seems like, doesn't Batman have better things to do? I like that Batman takes the time to solve this puzzle, figure out there's a girl in danger. The confrontation at the end is pretty amazing. This guy drives around a car that he's wrapped with this invisibility film, and as Batman's hanging on to the roof, driving through the city, people are looking by like, I didn't know he could fly. And as the car starts hitting more debris, the film comes off. So
Yeah.
Batman's driving far, like only the front of it's visible, the back is invisible. It's so weird and interesting, especially as an animation challenge to do this.
Yeah.
Um, and at the very end, the bad guy is caught, the little girl and the mom are safe, and then you end like it's kind of bookended the whole story. It starts with this imaginary friend idea, and then it ends with this girl at her window talking to somebody at night. Mom comes in. Who are you talking to? And she's like, "Oh, it's no one, man. Just Batman." And mom's like, "Okay, sure." And then as she puts her kid
We've
to
all been
bed, the
there, right?
camera,
Telling mom, I'm talking to Batman. Like,
yeah. But at the end, I think the question for me was, is he actually there, or is
yeah.
this little girl is Batman her new imaginary friend? And then you pan up to the roof, and Batman is literally there, and like was talking to this girl, making sure she's okay. And I've just thought that was so cool that
Yeah.
he has the time. And even though he's so scary, intimidating, especially for kids, he's got that kindness to him, and he knows what's worth taking time to do right, you know?
Going small scale with it. Of course we
Yeah,
all like the big, we like cool, eye-catchy, big explosion stuff like that. Like I love The Dark
yeah,
Knight. It's my favorite movie. And I'm like, what I thing that really that I love about that is that it
yeah,
ends on like a discussion between three guys,
yeah,
essentially. It's not the whole city's gonna blow up from an atomic bomb that we've seen
right.
before, which is still like that movie,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's not huge stakes. It's very small and contained. I'm like, sometimes that just like those are big punches, harder
yeah,
punches than the big stuff. So yeah, to
yeah, for
take a
sure.
break from some of that of, Joker laughing gas on the city, which is great. I love it and everything. And it's like, no, the small scale, he zones in on
Yeah,
there's a little girl's life at stake here by
yeah,
her crazy dad.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's very cool.
yeah.
And wins us over
When,
on Batman even more. Strengthens his
yeah,
characterization.
yeah, yeah, for sure. There's like a bittersweetness to it that, yeah. It's funny in one sense, I wish that I was doing Batman comics that were just low stakes like this,
Yeah.
because these are the stories I'm attracted to. And when I get my own chance to do Batman, I do just a big, every character, every villain type universe story. Like, changes the groundwork of Gotham completely. And I I don't regret doing that because if you're going to make headlines and get popular, you should really try to make a big mark, a big splash.
Yeah.
And I love this episode, but unfortunately, it just doesn't make a big splash. It's not designed to.
Yeah.
So, and there's another version of my career where I have just been happy to be under the radar, drawing these like slice of life Batman stories and never
Yeah.
being much of a name in comics, but really feeling fulfilled by the work I was doing. But then there's a version of me now where I'm like, it's too small. Like I love that stuff, but we really got to go bigger. We have to go, tent pole, summer blockbuster, because making having a successful career and all that and making more money, that's the way to do it. So part of me wishes I had gone the other way sometimes, but I do feel like there's a way to do big splashy stuff like you're
Yeah.
talking about with the second Batman movie and still having those small moments.
Yeah.
Or even in the first one where the little kid is watching Batman climb his fire escape and Batman like throws him binoculars or something as a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Well,
stuff's really important.
speaking on my end, I think you've done okay with
Thanks.
Batman. But what you're speaking of instantly what pops in my mind. It's funny because it all connects to everything. Is Paul Dini did in the 800 count somewhere a batch of Detective Comics stories,
Mm, Yeah.
and they were kind of like that, like maybe
Yeah.
2 issue arcs, but there's one, it's
Yeah.
like 826, which is just uh the Joker picks up Robin, and then
Mhm.
it's just him causing hell from the car driving in Gotham on
Yeah.
Christmas or Christmas Eve. And it's
Right.
an,
Yeah.
us nerds love reading that around Christmas time, but it's like low
Yeah.
stakes. It's just Joker and Robin for like 20
Yeah.
pages. And then
Yeah.
that's it, in and out. And
Yeah.
Dini did that so well for that batch of
Yeah.
comics. So it's possible.
Yeah. No, Dini's a master at a one shot or
Hmm.
two issues. Like I don't know. I mean, he would probably admit or say he prefers that rather than doing 12 issue arcs.
Yeah.
Just by looking at his pattern over the past 30 years, it's clear he likes the one shot, punch you in the face and get out of there
Yeah.
type,
What a dick.
like really clever, yeah, like clever ideas, quick elevator pitch is like, ooh, that's interesting, you know. It's funny when we were reviewing um, Batman Beyond. It's kind of a struggle. I wish the episodes held up a little bit better than they did.
Hmm.
Um, but I realized at the end, oh, Paul Dini didn't really write any of these. He did, I think, the first two, which was a two-parter, and
Arguably the
maybe
best. I don't know.
two or three. Yeah, no, honestly, like the best episodes of Beyond are the ones that Paul did. And there's one where even one in Justice League where it's a flashback to Terry as he's older, and you realize it suggests that Terry's a clone of Bruce. I think it's called
Epilogue.
Epilogue.
Is that
Thank you.
epilogue? Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's Bruce and I'm sorry, Paul Dini. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. In my mind, all the best, the few handful of Beyond episodes that are the best are all Paul Dini episodes. No offense to the other writers.
I think people will probably say that about the animated series too. It's just like, oh, it's so great. Best one's written by Dini.
Yeah, yeah,
That guy, he was born with the gift.
yeah.
Um, so like I said, in looking at like the pitch, so there's a couple of quick things to note on like what was in the pitch and the script from pitch to um episode. And I have like specific questions relating to you and your position of like making comics and stuff like that too, because you script. And I've never actually, were you ever proposed by DC to release like a director's cut issue of any of your White Knight stuff?
No, it'd be nice. I
Y-
pushed for stuff like that. I pushed for black and white, but they didn't seem
Yeah,
interested at the time.
because I don't think, and maybe I've missed it too, because you share a lot of stuff with your work on your Instagram, but I don't think that you show what your scripts look like.
Yeah, I should. I mean, I'm fine doing it. There's not much there. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not very descriptive in panels because I'm drawing it, so I don't have to be. I try to
yeah,
keep it simple and clean, and all the dialogue is there. I know my ending very clearly before I start. I'm kind of like a screenplay
yeah.
mentality with comics. I feel like most movies are designed to do everything they have to do in 90 minutes. Beginning, middle, end, initial incident, after 22 minutes, something happens and the character has a calling and the character has to answer the calling and blah, blah, blah. I think some comics are written with no ending in mind at all, which is, it works for some writers, but for me, it doesn't work.
So, like, do you kind of stick to like similar-ish, like
Yeah.
spaced out like that, just for even though it's for yourself?
Yeah. Panel one, two guys talking on a podcast, and here's the dialogue. Yeah.
All right. So let's see. The writer, shame I forgot his name, Pasco. So
Mhm.
the first thing that I thought was funny and actually adds something is that scene into the jewelry exposition or whatever, not exposition,
Yeah.
at the convention center, and Bruce is there to counter. He tried twice, and somewhere they cut it of having, I think, playing on the Bruce Wayne Playboy, and he has a blonde who I think he even describes of like your typical like kind of blonde. He didn't say bimbo, but he was trying to say something like that. And that
Yeah.
she wants this piece of jewelry and this one, and Bruce is buying it for her. And in the original pitch of that, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know that we need that because I kind of think the Beats has Bruce Wayne. I like that
Yeah.
version a lot in the sense that they didn't lean too far into the Playboy. It's like he actually does stuff for Gotham, and
Yeah.
still the citizens don't think he's Batman
Yeah.
for some reason. But
Yeah.
I think the writer did a good job of leaning a joke into it in the script, because he says, let's see, where's he? Oh, okay. He's like, I'll take 2 of those and 3 of these. And then Chrissy, she giggles and she says, "Oh, Bruce, you shouldn't." And Bruce goes, "Why not? Buffy, Heather, Bambi, and Courtney all have birthdays next month." And then the writer describes that she just, ugh. And that's kind of like, and then Chrissy reacts to the stuff when the Invisible Man comes in and Bruce is like, "Take care of her," to the security guard, and then bails. And I'm like, okay, I don't know that
Yeah.
she's necessary just for a joke, but reading that actually is like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. I think it's good in another episode, but I think
Yeah.
this episode is designed to keep the focus on the mom and the girl. Those
Yeah.
are the two women. And I think if you had Bruce, if you complicated why he was buying jewelry and showed him, kind of on a date, you just don't think that tone matches the rest of the episode's tone.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that
So
they cut it, but I like that stuff. I think it should be in another episode.
exactly. I think that's, and I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Batman's ZVF helmet, which is a zero visibility helmet, was in the pitch. Apparently, it's what he created, and if anybody doesn't know what that is, I kind of didn't either, but he references it in the pitch as well. It's what he creates in Blind as a Bat.
Yes. It's what gives him red eyes, I think. So he puts it
Yeah.
on. It looks like a Weapon X helmet. It's very clunky, but then when he pulls the cowl over it, it's completely skin tight for some reason. It's a cool look. I mean, Batman with red eyes is always a clear crowd pleaser.
In
But
in a
yeah,
s- in a series that does a really good job of standalone or two-part episodes that can stand alone, it's not serialized. This was a way that, like, reading that of, okay, this is a connection to Blind as a Bat. Oh, this is another weapon in his arsenal. And it was really going to come into effect, I think, in the third act of the script. But as we see in
yeah,
the episode itself, it's completely omitted. Batman's just
yeah,
using what he has on him.
yeah,
I
yeah. It
didn't
would.
miss it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because when he's trying to find this guy and he's getting beat by invisible punches, Batman's able to use a smoke um, pellet to
Hmm.
sort of show the guy's outline. At the end, he's able to use a water tower and poke some holes in it so the rain outlines this guy. But you think he has something in his belt that's infrared that would have worked just fine. But
Yeah.
if that would sort of ruin the idea. Like it's better if this guy is getting in all these sucker punches because Batman can't see him. Batman has to be old school and use his head to sort of figure it out. But you're right. I mean, he should have something in his belt that should have taken care of it much
It's
quicker.
it's his version of Eclipse goggles. He just pulls them out, unfolds them, just
Right,
puts them right on the cowl.
right, yeah.
Ah, there he is.
Like you
Get back
you could
here.
have a version of this where he takes them out, tries to start using them, but it's too late and he gets hit and they get smashed. But
Yeah.
maybe you don't really need it. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
I mean, it has more use than Chrissy, but they both met the same
Yeah,
fate. So I thought that
right.
was interesting for, the connection issues and also how he would use it in here. But also I like again, back down to basics and simple of Batman's just being Batman. He doesn't
Yeah,
need weapons. He's got his
yeah,
brain, his
yeah,
best
yeah.
weapon. In an ish or interesting, the big finale in the pitch and the script and the episode itself are totally different in how in the original pitch it was at a lighthouse, and the
Huh,
big twist was as if you think that he fell over the edge and then it's left open of if he's still alive and around or not. And
right.
Batman saves the daughter, Kimberly. In the script, there's like this big field in the back of like Kimberly's house, and that's just where all this kind of goes down.
Huh.
And then
Yeah,
in the episode itself, it's like, it's in the abandoned
yeah.
drive-in, which I think
It's
visually
funny.
to me is cool.
In a field, you'd be able to see someone's, even if you can't see them, you can see where they're walking. A field would reveal where this guy was.
Yeah.
Um,
And he
yeah,
does actually, he spends a lot of time emphasizing grass
right.
in this.
Yeah,
And whatever he says about the dude's glasses, of like when you can see him and he's always wearing these rectangular bespectacled moon glasses. Like he says it every
yeah,
single time that he describes the guy. And I'm like, what's the deal with the glasses? It's
yeah,
fine.
man.
Like, yeah.
I had no idea.
But the
Yeah, it's
emphasis on the
funny.
grass, he does a lot of, like, that's how Batman's tracking him. Oh, emphasize that this. And I think they went a
Right,
little simpler with it, and more creepy in the episode itself, of the door that's constantly banging in the wind. You see that it
yeah,
stops banging and it's open. And then it closes,
right.
and then the can just goes
That's
flying.
good.
And you're like,
Yeah, that
I
got
can
in.
put it together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. The original writer might watch this and just be frustrated, like, oh, I had this great idea. First, I
Yeah.
was gonna have Bruce buying these really hot chicks, all this jewelry.
Yeah.
And then there was this field, and then I wanted, and he must watch it thinking like, oh, this could have been so much better. Uh, but for me, I'm like, man, this is an almost perfect episode. I don't know how much better it would have been. I'm glad they made those edits. I'm sure he's got another version of it.
Yeah. And then like lastly, and this is the biggest one for me that I kind of went back and forth on was, and I don't know why I keep forgetting the dude's Lloyd Ventress. So with him, I think the opening, basically introducing him without even seeing him, and then you see him going to the convention to get like jewelry and stuff. You're still intrigued by him. With his first face off with Batman, he like toys with Batman and kind of becomes very like, comic book villain is like, there's too much echo for you here, Batman, and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And I'm kind of wondering if they didn't have that, would we have more of that push pull that we do with characters in this series, to where you would be like, I know he's the villain, but whereas I think with those moments in the face-offs with Batman, it kind of makes me more sort of like Batman kick his ass.
Yeah, Batman's gonna fight this guy. He needs to be more of a villain. Because motivation might be somewhat noble in his own
Yeah.
weird mind, but if you had to just have Batman lay out this guy who's just confused about restraining
Yeah.
orders, that's probably not a good look. But if
Yeah.
he's punching Batman and kicking him and doing all this other shit, then yeah, now you can fight. Now you can fight him.
And they do in the script, it's more that big confrontation at the end between the two. Batman's almost a little bit more refrained and helpful to him, and there is quick bites back and forth between the two, and how he's like, I just needed to take my daughter and stuff, whereas here Batman does peekaboo, and then he's
Yeah,
just like, your best disappearing act, 10 to 20 years, sort
yeah,
of stuff. But just like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, because like I said, I go back and forth on,
yeah,
is there another way to get us more sympathetic to the villain? And there's some villains that play out completely like, I don't need sympathy for him. Just let him. Joker, we know what
yeah.
he is. We don't need sympathy for him in any regard.
Mhm.
This guy's Lloyd is not the Joker. I
Yeah.
understand
I'm,
that.
I'm sorry for his first name.
I want to ask a couple. Let's see. Was there? Well, I guess, is there anything that you want to pinpoint to bring about that you like, that you notice, maybe don't like, anything like that of note?
Uh, yeah, honestly, this is a pretty perfect episode for me. I believe the little girl is actually the voiced by a famous actress now. The actress from Mad Men who was the mousy secretary at the
Uh,
beginning.
Moss. Is her last name
Yeah, I,
Moss?
I believe she's the voice of the little girl. Um, Thinking back to a few years ago when we did this episode on our podcast, but I think that's something.
The writer, he definitely emphasizes in here of like, Kimberly, he's like, she needs to be cute as a button. She needs to win
Yeah,
you over from the get-go and stuff. And I do
yeah,
think they do a good job of Elizabeth Moss. Yep, there you go. Well done.
yeah. Okay, yeah, it is her. Nice. I'm not full of shit.
Uh, I think they do a really good job. And then Helen's voiced by Jean Smart. I didn't look
Okay,
that up, so I must have forgotten. Like, never
yeah,
looked it up or forgot. And
it's
then
good. I mean, the what few lines she has, pretty well delivered.
yeah, and then Kevin Conroy voiced Batman. Crazy. I can't
Shocker.
believe
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Uh, I didn't know in the script, nothing big. There's a couple quick moments of Alfred's appearance. No offense to Alfred, but didn't miss
Don't
him.
need him. Yeah.
Didn't need him. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say too, the you mentioned a scene at a lighthouse where Ventress falls into the water and you don't know what
Hmm.
happened. I think they actually ended up using that for Clayface later on.
Mm,
And Fita Clay Part No is the other one. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, there's a
yeah.
big rainstorm and they're fighting, and there's this lighthouse like from the fog, basically, and I think Batman's trying to save him, and he slips through his hands, falls down the cliff, that type of thing. So I think it makes more sense to give that scene to Clayface because he can
Yeah.
literally dissolve.
Give it to Clayface, not Lloyd.
Yeah,
Uh,
Lloyd.
he
Yeah,
there's a lot of
Lloyd looks like Howdy Doody as well. Lloyd looks like the Mad Magazine character or something, but grown up.
it's like they started it and they were making him look like Harvey Dent, and I was like, nah, Harvey,
Yeah,
he's the good looking dude. We got to downgrade Lloyd.
yeah,
Freckles. and these
Yeah,
moon thick glasses, apparently,
yeah. Freckles or
glasses change
acne?
everything.
Could never figure out if they were freckles or moles or something.
You know what? I don't care for Lloyd. Let's give him acne. In my mind,
Yeah,
it's acne.
fuck
It's
Lloyd.
canon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, no, how you just said of using the lighthouse scene, it's noticeable they flipped a lot of scene, like flipped parts of scenes in this as well.
Mm.
Um, which isn't like it wasn't a big deal. It's just that's interesting to me to find out. So take you when you write some stuff, you pass it on to an editor, even though it's
Yeah.
Sean Murphy's White Knight and Sean Murphy's
Hmm.
Zorro and stuff. I think you still pass stuff on. What are
Yep.
discussions like that like? Is it like on your end, is you're like, this is how it is. I just need you to check mark it, or is it, oh, let me hear your thoughts if it flows well.
So my first editor, when I started White Knight, was Maggie, who is at IDW now. She's the one that hooked me up with this Ninja Turtles gig. She read my scripts, gave me very thoughtful, thorough notes, would talk on the phone, tell me stuff that concerned her, stuff that she liked. There was a lot of resistance to Harley Quinn being pregnant.
Mm,
They didn't want to see Harley pregnant. They thought it would be better if you never saw her. You just saw her having given birth to kids.
hmm
Which I don't know. I was worried was a little body shamey. Why not have, because I wanted Batman to deliver Joker's kids because I thought that'd be an interesting moment. So at the end of the day, I guess it was sort of mostly what I wanted to do, as long as it was within the bounds of, appropriateness, they were okay with. Um, my new editor is Brittany, who's younger, and I've known her a long time, and I don't know if she doesn't push back or engage with me as much because she thinks I've just got this under control, or she doesn't want to. Because I've known her so long, she just feels like happy to be involved, doesn't want to make my life any
Yeah.
harder. I don't know. But I did tell her once that I could use some more notes and I could use you reading the script a little bit more and really, don't be afraid to lean in and tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I can take it. My ego isn't really wrapped up in writing because I didn't come up as a writer. If you slam my artwork, it'll be harder for me to take. Like, I'm not above it. But my writing is like, I've made my bones on art, so that's where my ego is. My writing isn't really where my ego is. So I'm very open to fielding
Yeah.
ideas.
I'd like to find like a Batman editor, t at some point come on here to ask like those kind of questions of like you just said, hey, so do you feel like, well, this is Sean, he's established himself, so who am I to question things? Or do you feel very open to tell, and do you mostly get resistance or like constructive conversation of you justifying why you wrote it this way, and she comes in with this point of view, and how do you guys reach, you
Yeah.
know, a conclusion with that and
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I've had editors who are more firm in what they want. If I'm coming into a mainline book, they
Yeah,
definitely have to make sure that I'm drawing the character correctly. Can't just kill someone off.
yeah,
You know, there's a lot more rules with that. And because I'm in my own world, it's easy just to
kill
leave
everyone.
me to do my own thing. Yeah, which is good and bad. Like I
Yeah,
think we all do need editors. Um, but yeah. Yeah, I've had different types. There's basically two types of editors. There's schedulers, people who just make sure you're on time and they don't really have a lot of creative input, or they don't seem like they really want to have creative input. And then there's people who are, content editors, where they really do want to talk about the what's happening in the book and the story and all that, and immerse themselves in the plot. And they leave the scheduling to their assistant or something. And I find the best editors can do both, which is
yeah,
kind of rare because a lot of editors they don't have a degree in English, business degree. A lot of them are just fans who love it and found their way in, basically. And that's kind of the beauty of comics, but it's also kind of why sometimes people get in that aren't really qualified.
yeah.
But I'm really picky about who I work with, and I'm really happy with both of my editors that I've worked on with White Knight.
How do you deal with peers who ask your opinion on stuff of their work? They or do not many
Yeah.
do that because it's like an unwritten rule.
Yeah. Most people at my level don't seem interested. But when you're hanging out at shows, you're just
Yeah,
there to enjoy yourself and drink. You're not really talking
yeah.
shop. I did ask Mateo once, what can I do better? Like, don't hold back, let me have it. And I had to go at him like three times before he finally gave me something. And he's like, okay. the way you draw characters running kind of bothers me. And I go, why? Because you always draw them at like full apex, like they're like
Yeah.
this. They're never like that or halfway, or their legs are always like that. They're never like this. And he's not wrong. I just feel like the most iconic way to show a character running and to get speed, the character is always is a full, lunge or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I look at his stuff now and I notice him drawing a lot of characters that are doing that too. And I'm like, you motherfucker, you gave me all that shit. But I did drag it out of him. I mean, it is my
Yeah.
fault. He was super sweet about it. And I think after he's like, I'm sorry, I really like your diary. I'm like, dude, no, I asked for this. It's okay.
Each
Um,
passing drink, you're like, I'm getting close. I'm getting
yeah,
close. I've almost broke
yeah.
through.
But I don't like, I'm friendly with guys like Jock and
Yeah.
Raphael, but I'm not close enough to feel comfortable
Yeah.
asking them that, Maybe if we were on a extended trip and we had spent many nights drinking together, we get to that level, Just got to talk
Mhm.
about something when you're some on these road tours sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean a lot of artists are fragile egos, which is not a surprise to anybody. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Certainly don't like giving unsolicited advice. Even when
Sure.
people write to me, like someone who's just been in comics for maybe 3 years, he's like, "Oh, I love this, Transformer sketch, but you really should put the gun towards the camera and have like a 3D whatever, like a lot of foreshortening." I always say, "Thank you very much, I appreciate it." But in my head, I'm like, "What's the matter with you? Why do you think I want your advice? Don't you know I've been doing this for 20 years? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I know how to draw foreshortening. The reason I chose, in my head, I could give you the list of like why I don't agree with that. But I don't think people ever mean to be mean. I think
Yeah.
it's just their way of reaching out and saying, "Hey, I like you, want to chat a little bit." That's really what they're saying. It's not necessarily about the critique. It's just lonely and they want to reach out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've
I
never
mean,
like snapped at anybody or anything like that.
I think I always just kind of stand more so by the philosophy of like, if you're gonna ask, be prepared for the answer. And then
Hmm.
also, if somebody's not asking me, well, then I'm not necessarily usually if I'm genuine in what I respond with, but if I like it, I won't wait for you to ask to say that I like it.
Hmm.
But I won't like suggestions unless it is like, Ryan, tell me what do you think? I'm like, okay, well now be prepared. And it's
Yeah,
never like shit. That
yeah,
sucks, or anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It's
With
hard
that, go
doing
ahead.
portfolio reviews and getting someone who is really not even close to being professional. It's hard to critique because you're like, man, I don't want to overwhelm them. Try
Yeah.
to give them like a critique sandwich. Like, I'm going to tell you two things you're doing well and one thing you need to work on. And you sandwich, your
Yeah.
positivity sandwich, whatever it's called.
Hmm.
And I just leave it at that because I don't want to break their brain or
Yeah.
make them lose faith. Um, but yeah, if it's someone who's more published and asks me, like, I'll usually just placate them just by being nice. Oh, man, you're doing good. Just keep going. I don't know what to tell you. You've got a successful career and blah, blah, blah. And if they really want to know, they'll ask me again later and I'll tell them. But generally, most people will go away with a polite, oh, you're doing great, man. Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Yeah. Let's see. It's three quick things about this episode, and then I promise I'll let you go.
Yes, you've got a question?
Do you have like a favorite imagery of this episode that stands out in your mind if you think see no evil?
I think either the invisible half car while he's
Hmm.
riding on top of it is great, and then the little girl in her window with Batman above her on the roof. That'd be a pretty fun, iconic cover to do.
Yeah. I think mine, weird enough, is right at the beginning, in which in the script's funny and how it's descriptive of like trying to say this is like the poor part of Gotham. And it's
Yeah.
like abandoned fast food restaurants and all this
Yeah.
stuff and whatever. And like it's almost
Mhm.
like slummy and it's a bad trailer park and all that. And I'm like, they transitioned it to where it's still like I didn't jump to that right away, but
Mhm.
abandoned drive-in, which sadly now is almost too real.
Yeah.
But the imagery of that, I think I like that. And then, like you said, Batman standing in front of the moon on the roof at the end. It's like, oh
Mhm.
God, that's Batman. I mean that every
Yeah.
day, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Uh, would you do? Let's say DC approached you, Warner Brothers approached you and said, like, we're doing adaptations of episodes. Would you do that for this one?
Yeah. It's funny. I threw this idea out a lot. Yeah. I wish they would do a series of Batman where you hire different artists to tackle different episodes of the animated series. And I think everyone would want Heart of Ice or they'd want a Joker episode. I'd be happy with this one. Um, Ironically, there is car chase in it, but you can't see the car. So, but yeah, I think I might like change the kind of car he has just to make it a little bit cooler, just to keep myself entertained. But yeah, I think drawing this one or POV would be cool. Maybe a Clayface episode would be nice, would be fun.
Oh wow, you've tackled Clayface. It's done
Or
in
take
in
a
comic form.
yeah, or take a really bad episode and try to fix it to make it good. Like there's one animated, probably the worst one is these three fraternity boys
Terrible
with like
trio.
yeah, that one. It's a terrible episode. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I think that even people who made it or interviewed like, yeah, we dropped the ball on that. It's my least favorite. You know, like it's no secret. But it'd be a nice challenge to take that and to really make it good or to tweak a few things here and there, you know?
That would be the big plus of this proposed series
Yeah,
of comics is like doing stuff like that. And I think
yeah.
I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a fan of the Baby Doll episode, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Oh, I
Thank
didn't
you.
mean to.
I
Yeah.
thought I was on an island on this, listening to people, and it's like the Batman in my basement, which is the kids that have Batman in the basement. Like
Yeah.
I liked that episode as a kid, and it was the whole point of it was like imagine yourself kid as them, and then Baby Doll was one I think is really good and actually has some layered storytelling to it. So
Yeah.
like
Baby Doll, it's funny. It's a similar ending where you have a bad thing happening because of someone who's confused, who's
mhm,
not all bad. And then at the end, Batman shows sympathy for child in some
mhm.
way. There's a lot of similarities with this one and the Baby Doll one. I thought Baby Doll was more of a thing. When I put her into White Knight, I just thought I was using a classic character. I had no idea she never really appeared in a comic
Yeah,
outside of an animated series comic, I think.
the audio adventures comic, they based on the podcast series that they did come out with, Baby Dolls in that, and they actually do something really cool with her and Killer Croc,
Cool.
that
Yeah.
I really appreciate. And I thought they
Yeah.
did really well. I'm like, good, keep the spirit of Baby Doll alive. Okay, you can do
Yeah.
it.
But
It works.
make Croc the little spoon and she's the big spoon
Oh my
when they
god.
sleep together.
Now give me that comic issue. Okay,
Oh, it's so
written
weird.
and drawn by Sean Murphy.
Oh, man.
All right, I've kept you over. I usually try not I not usually try. I try not to do that, but thanks for coming on. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
talking with you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for all the support and plugging my stuff over the years.
For
Yeah.
sure.
When I have my new announcing my next book, whatever, I'll be bugging you to do some promo if that's cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
So outside of the podcast realm, where can people follow you for when when you post your cool stuff like an Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover and this
Yeah,
series and stuff? Where can people follow you?
mostly on Instagram. I have a Twitter account that my assistant runs, just for information, books and signings and stuff like that. We'll be doing signing in Paris in May.
Nice.
On the 16th is a Zorro gallery that they're going to have. So I'm going to have a show there, and then I'll be signing at Lake Como again. And then for US shows, it'll be Rose City, which is yeah, Portland, Oregon, and Dallas, which is June or July, I forget. And then
Nice.
New York Comic Con.
This character that doesn't exist, Bill, he
Mhm.
lives in Dallas.
Sure he
So
does.
maybe, sure he does.
That's where your
Lake,
tax savings.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Lake Como, I think you posted a lot when you did that last year, and that looked like just the area, like just looked awesome.
yeah, it's
Looked really
surreal. It's
awesome.
it's it's the kind of treatment that most comic artists are not used to. I mean, most of us make very little money, so to have a gala in beautiful surroundings in this James Bond style villa, like we don't deserve that. It's crazy. So it's a nice treat for a lot of people that don't usually get to experience that kind of thing.
Very
And I think
cool.
it's been discovered. So a lot of artists are like begging to get in every year, and they can only take so many. And
I
it's
want
starting.
in. I
I
want in
wouldn't.
the club.
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to control the gate on that. It's got
Yeah.
to be pretty thankless to tell people no.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, there you go. Follow Sean on Instagram. His next project he'll make known. And thanks again, Sean, for coming on.
Cool, man. Thanks, Ryan. Talk to you later, man.